You can transfer it 1-to-1 to your miles or 1-to-many on some of the airlines. I prefer Delta personally. And go see what that would actually cost you. And you'll be shocked at like, okay, this flight is 22,000 miles. If I spend $5,000 on my card next month, I'm going to have the miles for that flight. It adds up very, very quickly. Welcome to the Dropship Podcast, where you'll learn how to build and grow a high-ticket dropshipping business and hear stories from successful e-commerce entrepreneurs. Let's kick this thing off. Hey, welcome to the Dropship Podcast. And today I want to show you how you can travel for free thanks to your dropshipping business. The beauty of the businesses that we run is there is a lot of expenses, right? We are essentially buying a product from a manufacturer. After a customer pays us, we're buying it from them. And so 90% of our margin is getting put on a credit card. We're also spending money on ads to acquire customers to come to our website, right? There is a lot of expenses in your business. And if you can maximize the way that you keep your books, the way you use credit cards, you can travel for free pretty much anywhere in the world. And then if you really want to get like crazy point hacky, you can do some really cool stuff. If that interests you guys at all, leave a comment. I'll get my friend Alan on here. I'll get somebody on here who can go really deep. I'm going to give you high level what I think you should do in your business. But honestly, we just flew, I think, 8-9 people to our event in Salt Lake City. We flew John Murphy from Rome over here, all using the points that Dropship Breakthru is spitting off. And you do a lot more moving numbers in a dropshipping business than you do in an information business that we're using.
Yeah, true. I think one of the, it's one of the cool things about high ticket dropshipping. Like, there's a lot of businesses where you don't have quite the same level of expenses. So there is a really big opportunity here that maybe a lot of people aren't, I don't know, maybe a lot of people aren't even aware of this really, who are just thinking about getting started. But if you think about it, right, like, I mean, let's say you've got a dropshipping business that, like, even at, decent but kind of modest numbers, let's say you're doing 100,000 a month in sales. So, you're kind of at that 1 million a year in revenue kind of mark, and 15% net margin. I mean, you're probably spending, 75,000 on products, like orders you're placing with suppliers. And so that's every month you can be getting points or rewards on $75,000 in spend. And then, like Ben says, maybe you're spending another 3 or 4 or 5,000 or maybe a bit more on ads as well. Once again, charges, and there's a bunch of other little charges as well that you can kind of pay for in that way. And so that does really start to stack up, let alone you get to, mid 7 figures a year. You get to 8 figures a year, and now you're spending, $500,000 a month or more on expenses, on business expenses, which a lot of which you can put on a card. Like, I mean, that's an insane amount of points.
When you just look at the COGS, right? We'll get to the travel for free. Let's just look at the cost of goods, right? Again, to your point, you do $1 million in a year. You probably have $700,000 to $850,000 in cost of goods in that, right? You're going to get 2% back on that. So let's use the low number. We'll use 700,000 times 2%. That's $14,000 in reward that you will get from your Capital One card if you use the Capital One Spark. I'm going to put all the links below, all of our referral links if you want to check them out. dropshipbreakthru.com/Capital One. That's considered a rebate from Capital One. That's $14,000 that Mr. Taxman doesn't need to get their goofy hands on, right? That really, like, You didn't add that. You just added 2% to your bottom line, right? So even if you don't believe with their rebate and you pay taxes on it, you still added 2% back to your bottom line just on those COGS. It makes so much sense, let alone you're going to run Google Ads. And so on the Google Ads side of things, or shipping, if you do any shipping, you should put everything on an Amex Gold card. Again, dropshipbreakthru.com/Amex. And you can get 4 times your points on your first 150,000 in spend. And so if you're doing $1 million a year, you're probably going to spend $100,000 on Google Ads, if not on some other things. As you grow, it's only going to go exponential from there. And so you're likely going to have 400, 600,000 points at the end of the year. And if any of you fly an airline in America, you can move them there, where I'm sure you can go try to book something today on your airline app and use miles. You can transfer it 1-to-1 to your miles or 1-to-many on some of the airlines. I prefer Delta personally. And go see what that would actually cost you. And you'll be shocked at, like, okay, this flight is 22,000 miles. If I spend $5,000 on my card next month, I'm going to have the miles for that flight. It adds up very, very quickly. And the beauty of Amex is they'll just keep giving you cards, which is wild to me, for the same business. So if you hit that 150 and you got 600,000 miles or 600,000 points, you can just call them, tell them I need another card, and they'll give you another card, and the 150 starts over, and then you can do it again. So it's kind of wild, but like this just continues to grow exponentially as you grow, right? And it can be super beneficial in the beginning when, again, if you're breaking even, as we mentioned on a previous episode, you might think there's nothing to look forward to here, but you should be getting that 2% on your Capital One card. You should be racking up points on your Amex card. There are other cards that have even bigger bonuses. Like I want to say that Chase has 2.5% on any purchase over $5,000, which we're high ticket drop shipping around here. You're often going to have something over $5,000 if you're selling high ticket things. And then Bank of America, I think, has 2.6 if you keep a generous balance in your account for one day, according to Moiz Ali, my friend at Native. He's saying 100K in your bank account is what you need to have. They check it once, they never come back and check again. So obviously that's out of reach for some people, but those numbers really add up on your cost of goods and your Google ads, which is like the main expenses in our business, let alone you're going to have Shopify, you're going to have a phone number, you're going to buy links, shocking it, I'm sure. There's going to be other places that you're going to spend money in your business that you can add more back to your bottom line on these things. It's kind of a no-brainer. It's unfortunate because we have a lot of international listeners, and I don't think this is like a big thing elsewhere. Like this is kind of an American thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can say a few words for the Australian crowd, which is usually our second largest geographical group of listeners on the podcast. Aussies, yay! And I can't say so much for people in the UK. You'd kind of just have to go and explore this. I'm not sure where that lands, or where it lands if you're in the EU or mainland Europe, if you like. In Australia, you don't get anywhere near the same level of rewards as you do in the US. Things like the cashback, particularly, you don't get anywhere near anything like that you can get in the US. And even the level of points and the way you can convert them to miles and that sort of thing, it's not as favorable here, for sure. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. So, I mean, even, to put some things into perspective, so like I have a card here, which, and this is one that isn't such a big deal in the beginning, but when you get to a point where you're making more money, you're going to start paying the tax office money, right? In Australia, you do sales tax, our GST accounting every so often, and some of that goes back to the government. Well, you can get credit cards here that give you reward points for paying your taxes. And when your business grows, that's going to be a 5-figure number every year that you're paying at least. You can get points on that. Now, you have to check that, though. Not all credit cards do allow you to do that. There's only some that do. So I use ones that do. I have sometimes a very big tax bill that I have to pay, and I can get points on money that I'm paying to the government. There's a little thing you can do. So like the cards you get here, you can get up to 2 points per dollar spent, right? That's occasionally there might be one that goes a little bit higher than that. But there's a service here that I use for paying bills, and I use this for paying all sorts of things, not just business stuff. It's called pay.com.au, which is like a payment processing platform. And so whenever you have to do a payment, you can process it via their platform. They charge you a fee for sure. And so it increases the cost a little bit, but you can get 2 points for every dollar you spend there, right? And you can convert those points back to frequent flyer miles in all the programs in Australia, or you can just convert them to cash. They do cash back. And so you can use their platform to get 2 points, but you can also get them to process it via your credit card, where you're going to still get the points on your credit card as well. So it gives you, in effect, more points. You can get, like, depending on your credit card, up to 4 points per dollar spent by doing that. But you can also make payments from your bank account and get points on those payments as well, which in Australia, a lot of suppliers, for example, don't take credit card. Actually, they want you to do bank transfers to pay for your bills. So using a platform like that to pay them, assuming you can fit the little fee into your margins okay and all of that sort of thing, you can still get points when you do bank transfer payments that, once again, you can convert back to cash, do a cashback thing, or you can convert into frequent flyer miles with Qantas or Virgin or whoever if you want to. So that's a little Australian thing that I'd say it might be worth looking into. I also use that platform to pay for, like, you can any payment that you make that's to a business, you can use that platform for. So like for me, I had to buy a new garage door the other day for my house. I'm buying it from a business. It costs like a ridiculous amount, to be honest. So I paid for that using their platform, and I got a bunch of points, because it was a payment to a business. And so you should use all of these things in your personal life too. I don't necessarily know that I'm going into recommending that people put themselves into credit card debt or whatever. You need to be, in a position where you can responsibly manage these things for sure. But there's a real benefit here too. And I think people probably just aren't aware of how beneficial this can be. Like I say, I mean, if Dropship Breakthru was a high-ticket dropshipping business, we'd probably have way more points. But we're getting free flights to in all sorts of ways for people, and off what is probably a modest amount of spend. Like it's ridiculous.
It adds up fast.
Yeah, it really does.
And same in your personal life. Like I use this Citi double cash card for everything. So we put all of our purchases on this card, everything. And then we consolidate from there, and it's a no-brainer, right? Like you're spending money all over the place, and certainly takes some discipline. If you're used to, the cash in your wallet is what you have, and when it's gone, it's gone. It takes a little more discipline to put, just keep, Apple Paying or swiping your card. But it just adds up over time, and these businesses are insane in the way that they add up. And so, I once had Justin Cook from Empire Flippers tell me he had buyer interest at Empire Flippers from businesses that weren't profitable, just to get all the rewards. And I thought that was like insane when I heard that. Yeah, he was like, so if you ever have one that's like breaking even, let me know. I know people who buy it just to get the rewards. And I thought that was strange, but I get it. Like, you kind of turn into a point freak after a while. Like once you start seeing what you can do, like, again, I don't want to go down rabbit holes, but like airlines will match status. So if you get status in one, you can get status in another. Apparently there are some other rewards things that are not airlines that will match your airline status and give you like a hotel status. And then you can once you get that hotel status, then you can pair it to another one. There's all sorts of games you can play. Some people like to sign up for 1 million credit cards and like get all the, spend 10 grand, you get this thing. Like I think Amex has that through our link as well. If you spend 10 grand in your first 3 months, you get a bunch of extra points like that. Yep. And so I've never gone down those rabbit holes, like signing up for a bunch of things. But I remember way back before I had purchased the course that I took in 2015 to learn dropshipping, the podcast I was listening to, this was one of the things that sold me. So, they were talking, live in Thailand for, shekels, right? Cost nothing to live there. Live on the beach. You can have a 1-bedroom apartment for like $100 a month, and you can eat for 50 cents a day at the mall in Chiang Mai, and like, sit on the beach and like run your dropshipping business. And I was so thrilled with the idea that I could fly over there for virtually nothing because of these points, and I could live there for virtually nothing. But it was a big factor in me actually taking a step forward. It turns out that's not exactly what I wanted when it came to my life and travel.
I was going to say, you never ended up doing any of that.
Yeah, look, I went to Thailand 4 times. I really like it there. I'm a big fan. Sure. In fact, certainly we've had some listeners. I'll call Carl out if she's listening. She said we should do a Dropship Breakthru live in Thailand. I'm all for that. I really enjoy Thailand, but I didn't end up living there. And but I did fall in love with the process of like, okay, I've got a business. It spits off these rewards. And so, the next episode we're going to do is on July 4th here. And we're going to talk about some of the tax benefits of owning a business too. But this is such a big benefit that I think too many people overlook. In fact, I overlooked it early on in my career. It sold me, but I was 40K in debt. All my cards were maxed out. No one was giving me another card, right? And so it took a while for me to get into a position where this could really spit off rewards. And then once it did, it was just like, oh, this is really addicting, right? The ability to watch the number go up in your Capital One backend of just cash that is available to you, watch the points going up in your Amex portal, and knowing what that turns into in flights is it's very addicting. And honestly, I don't have it pulled up here. Let me pull it up real quick. We flew multiple people into our event, just again from us. Like we don't have cost of goods here at Dropship Breakthru, but we spend a lot on ads. We spend a lot on things running this business, and that added up enough for us to fly. Amira, shout out to Amira. She helped us put on the event in Salt Lake City. Fly her here. We fly Holly who answers the calls. Dropshipbreakthru.com/call. If you're ready to join the course, you can talk to Holly, also a partner of ours. We helped her get to the event. John Murphy, we flew over from Rome. Leighton Taylor, we flew in from across the country. Kellen and his wife, Kellen will be speaking. We're flying him from across the country. And so like all of these things were made possible from rewards. I think each American flight cost us $11 as a fee when you book it, but like $11 is nothing when the rest of the flight is free. And so, and for the most part, we were able to book these people into a nice comfy seat at the front of the plane too, which is, it's fun. It's nice to be able to do that. It's nice to be able to fit in a seat, if I'm honest with you. So I enjoy sitting in the front of the plane. I got bumped up there in 2016, and thanks to these points, I've never went back. I don't ever plan on going back to a tiny seat. And so, I just think it's overlooked. I think it's an overlooked piece of this business model that doesn't get talked about enough, because you really do. Like most business models have expenses. This business model has the majority of the revenue you do is expenses, and that really adds up.
Yeah. And I tell you what, if you're somebody who's looking at getting into the business model or is getting into the business model, and part of your why, what's driving you is you want to spend more time with your family, or you're thinking of starting a family and you want to have kids. Listen, as somebody who's got 4 kids, let me tell you, travel with kids is fucking expensive. Like I want to take 6 people on a plane. You need points, right? Because otherwise, if I want to go to another country with all of that shit and I want a decent seat, man, it's going to cost me like 20 grand just in airline tickets. You know what I mean? And so you want some points to help you there. Definitely. This should be a very big thing for you if you're somebody who wants to travel with your family, because it can make it a hell of a lot easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We recently looked at like what would it cost to come see you in this winter? Normally we go to Florida for the winter, and we're like, what would it cost to go see John? Just trying to think of sitting 14 hours next to my 3-year-old and my 2 9-year-olds. Yeah. No matter where you're sitting, right? Like if you're sitting in the front or the back, that's a long time to sit on a plane, and then land in Incheon, South Korea, and it's like 2 a.m. internally, and you get there and it's like noon and you got a 3-hour layover. Like that just sounds awful. So but when we looked at it payment wise, it was like, like you said, like 20 grand, right, to sit in, not sit in coach and sit even in premium select. I think it was what it was. Miles was not that much, right? And if you can be flexible, again, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but you can use seats.aero. There's probably 10 other sites where you can really look into this stuff of where you can maximize your points, and if you're willing to fly out of a different airport. So when I looked, flying out of Chicago was significantly cheaper than flying out of Minneapolis, right? And we could take a 4-hour drive and park our car there and fly out of Chicago, or we could take a little short flight from Minneapolis to Chicago and then fly out of Chicago and save significantly. Again, there are, I don't remember the name of this, but seats.aero is a good one for you to go look at, like these reserve seats that are ridiculously cheap miles wise. And once you know the airline, then you can just transfer it out of your Amex portal to these airlines, and it becomes a game. I promise you, if you start doing this, you will get addicted. And once you sit in a nice comfy seat, I think you'll be addicted to that too. It's a different experience. But especially if you're willing to sit in coach, like you could fly nonstop, I think, on the miles that these businesses create. It's kind of wild, man. I wish I started this sooner. Like I said, I was in debt. I couldn't get a car, but if you're just starting this, please get started right away. Like the links are in our course. The links are in the show notes here. Like this is something you can do today to get started, and it adds up very fast.
Yeah. Once again, I mean, I know that there's going to be people out there who are listening who are like, I've got bad credit. I can't get a credit card, or I'm not old enough, or something like this, right? Or I'm already in credit card debt or whatever. And, this isn't for me. Like, this is not a reason for me to get into business. It is, like, once again, like, you just need to start. Right? Start your business. Don't worry about this yet. If you start your business and you start building a business and you start making sales, you start making a bit of profit, like this is going to become possible for you. Right? Don't have a short-term mindset about it. If you put off starting because, I've got bad credit or whatever, then you're just pushing it further down the road. And the time where you get out of that bad credit and sort yourself out is just getting further and further down the road. The way to fix that position is to start a business, like start doing things, and start today. Like don't put it off because of your credit rating or whatever, because by doing that, you're actually just making it harder that you're going to, and less likely that you're going to fix your credit situation, right? So get started. You don't need a credit card to start a business, right? You can do it with a bank account, which is free to open, and a debit card. That's all you need. and just get started, and you will find yourself, if you're consistent, if you work hard, all of which are free, by the way, right? Your time, you've got your time. You're not paying for that. Like, you will put yourself in the position where these things are possible for you, regardless of where you're starting. So please don't put it off for that reason. Get started today. And this is going to be for you in the future.
Thanks for listening to the Dropship Podcast. You can find all the show notes for this episode at dropshippodcast.com. And if you're ready to take the next step in your dropshipping journey, we invite you to join us inside Dropship Breakthru, where John and I will walk you through step-by-step in starting your own high-ticket dropshipping e-commerce business. But that's not all. Dropship Breakthru will also teach you everything you'll need to know to grow your business and take it to the next level. So head over to dropshipbreakthru.com and sign up for our free training that will help you take the first steps towards building and growing your own profitable high-ticket dropshipping business.